Imagine standing on the edge of a shoreline. On one side, you have a crowd so massive it's pushing you into the water. On the other side, across the lake, lies a graveyard haunted by a man who snaps iron chains like thread. It feels like two different worlds, doesn't it?
It does. And yet, in the text we're looking at today, Mark chapters 4 and 5, we see a single narrative thread tying these chaotic scenes together. It's a journey from theory to practice. We start with quiet teaching by the seaside and end up confronting the absolute extremes of human suffering.
It really is a shift in gears. Chapter 4 feels almost academic at first. Jesus is teaching from a boat because the crowd is just too big. He starts with these parables, stories about farming, seeds, and lamps. But honestly, looking at the text, these aren't just simple country stories, are they?
Not at all. They are actually screening mechanisms. Take the famous parable of the sower. A farmer throws seed everywhere, on the path, on rocks, among thorns, and on good soil. It seems inefficient, but the point Jesus makes privately to his disciples is fascinating. He says the secret of the kingdom is given to them, but to outsiders, everything remains a riddle.
That sounds almost exclusionary. Why speak in codes?
It's about the disposition of the heart. The seed is the message. The variable isn't the seed, it's the soil. Some people are like pavement. The message bounces right off. Others are rocky. They get excited emotionally but have no roots. So when life gets hard, they bail. The parables force you to lean in. If you don't care, it's just a story about farming. If you're hungry for truth, it's a map of the human soul.
And he emphasizes that with the lamp metaphor, right? You don't light a lamp to hide it under a basket.
Exactly. Truth is meant to be seen, but you have to have ears to hear. He even throws in a warning. Be careful what you listen to, because the measure you use is the measure you'll get. It's this idea that spiritual understanding has a compound interest effect. The more you engage, the more you get. If you check out, you lose even what you thought you had.
There's one parable here that I love, the growing seed. The farmer plants it, goes to sleep, and the seed grows he knows not how.
That is such a relief for anyone trying to do good work. It implies that the heavy lifting is done by the power of the seed itself, not the farmer's anxiety. The kingdom of God is inevitable. It's like the mustard seed he mentions next. Tiny, insignificant looking, but it explodes into a massive tree where birds can nest. It starts small, but it's unstoppable.
Speaking of unstoppable, the narrative takes a sharp turn right after the teaching. They get in the boat to cross the sea, and suddenly, theory time is over. A massive storm hits.
This is the first test. It's one thing to hear about the kingdom, it's another to trust it when water is filling the boat. The contrast here is cinematic. The disciples are in a panic, convinced they're about to die. And Jesus, he's asleep on a cushion in the stern.
That image always strikes me. The storm is raging and he's napping. The disciples wake him up with an accusation. Teacher, don't you care that we are dying?
It's the universal human cry during a crisis. God, are you asleep? Do you not care? But look at the response. He doesn't bail out water. He speaks to the elements. He tells the sea effectively, silence, be muzzled. And the chaos instantly turns into a great calm.
But then he turns the spotlight back on them. He asks, why are you afraid? Do you still have no faith? It seems like a harsh question given they almost drowned.
It is, but it exposes the root issue. They had the presence of Jesus, but they didn't have the peace of Jesus. And ironically, after the storm stops, the text says they were greatly afraid. They were terrified of the storm, but they were even more terrified of the man who could shut it off. They ask, who is this?
That question, who is this, seems to hang over everything that follows in chapter 5. Because once they cross the lake, things get even darker. They land in the country of the Gerasenes. And immediately, this man comes running out of the tombs.
This is arguably the most intense confrontation in the Gospels. This man is in total agony. He's living among the dead, cutting himself with stones, screaming day and night. Society tried to bind him with chains, but he just snapped them. He is completely untamable.
And when he sees Jesus, the reaction is immediate. The entities inside him, Legion, recognize Jesus instantly. They beg not to be tormented. It's strange that the demons have better theology than the disciples did in the boat.
That's a profound observation. The storm recognized its master, and now the spiritual forces of darkness recognize him too. Legion implies thousands, a military term. They beg to be sent into a herd of pigs nearby. Jesus allows it, and suddenly 2,000 pigs rush down the steep bank and drown in the sea.
That is, a lot of pigs. Economically, that's a disaster for the town.
It is, and the townspeople's reaction is telling. They come out, see the man, who was previously a monster, sitting there, clothed and in his right mind. You'd think they would throw a parade. Instead, they are terrified. They beg Jesus to leave.
They preferred the predictable chaos of the demoniac and their stable economy over the disruptive power of Jesus.
Exactly. Restoration is messy, it costs something. But for the man, everything has changed. He wants to go with Jesus, but Jesus gives him a different mission. Go home and tell your friends what the Lord has done for you. He becomes the first missionary to the Decapolis.
So Jesus leaves, crosses back to the other side, and we get this sandwich story. He's interrupted by a synagogue ruler named Jairus.
This is high drama. Jairus is a VIP, a religious leader. He falls at Jesus' feet, which is a huge risk for his reputation, begging for his dying daughter. She's 12 years old. Jesus agrees to go, but the crowd is crushing in again.
And in the middle of this rush to save a dying child, everything stops. A woman touches his robe.
This is the heart of the chapter. You have Jairus, a man of status, and then this woman. She's been bleeding for 12 years. Coincidentally, the same amount of time Jairus' daughter has been alive. She's broke, she suffered under bad medical treatments, and she is ritually unclean. She shouldn't even be in that crowd.
She thinks, if I just touch his clothes, I'll be made well. It feels almost superstitious, but it works.
It's desperation mixed with faith. She touches him and she is instantly healed. But Jesus stops. He asks, "Who touched me?" The disciples are like, "Everyone is touching you." But Jesus felt power go out. He forces a confrontation, not to shame her, but to restore her socially. She confesses, trembling, and he calls her daughter.
That's beautiful. He calls the outcast daughter while on his way to heal a literal daughter. But the delay must have been agonizing for Jairus.
It was fatal, actually. While Jesus is talking to the woman, messengers arrive and tell Jairus, "Your daughter is dead. Why bother the teacher anymore?" Imagine the gut punch. The delay cost him everything.
But Jesus ignores the report. He tells Jairus, "Don't be afraid, only believe."
Only believe. That is the hardest command in the world when you're staring at a dead body. They get to the house, and the professional mourners are already wailing. Jesus says she's just sleeping, and they literally laugh in his face.
The transition from wailing to mocking laughter is so jarring.
It shows how final they thought death was, but Jesus kicks everyone out except the parents and his inner circle. He takes the girl's hand and says, "Talitha Kumi, little girl, get up."
And she does. Immediately.
Immediately. She gets up and walks, and I love the practical detail at the end. Jesus tells them to give her something to eat. It grounds the miracle in reality. She's not a ghost. She's a hungry 12-year-old kid.
So, looking at these two chapters, we've gone from seeds growing in secret, to calming a hurricane, to expelling a legion of demons, to healing chronic illness, and finally, reversing death itself.
It's a crescendo of authority. Mark is showing us that this kingdom Jesus talked about in the parables isn't just a philosophy. It has dominion over nature, over the spiritual realm, over the body, and over death.
And in every single case, the barrier was fear. The disciples feared the storm. The townspeople feared the change. The woman feared being exposed. Jairus feared the delay.
Precisely. And in every instance, Jesus' counter is faith. Not a blind optimism, but a trust in who is in the boat with you. The question, "Who is this?" has been answered. He is the one who brings order out of chaos, whether that chaos is a storm at sea or a storm in the soul.
It really makes you rethink what we consider uncontrollable in our own lives. If the wind and the grave listen to him, maybe the things we worry about aren't as final as they seem.
That's the lingering thought. We are like those soils in the first parable. We hear these stories. Do we let them take root? Do we let them change how we view our own storms?
A powerful place to leave it. It seems the seed has been sown. Now we wait to see how it grows. Thanks for walking through this with me.
My pleasure. It's a story that never gets old.
And thank you for listening. Until next time.
If you have been blessed by this, please like, subscribe, and share this joy with others. God bless.